everyone, and welcome back to the Rachel Unpacked Podcast. I am your host, Rachel Medina. Let me tell you something about this guest that I am about to introduce. You have no idea. I was just sharing with her a second ago that she has been on our corporate vision board for the last 2+ years. Ladies and gentlemen, well, not ladies and gentlemen, ladies and ladies, AMY Porterfield.
Well, hello there, friend. I am honored to be on that vision board, and I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I watched your interviews with Ed Milet and all the different people. And speaking really quick about having you on the vision boards, one of the things is that I myself was a career woman, entrepreneur, all that fun stuff. And I needed inspiration when it came to going all in on helping women unpack their inner CEO, sharing everything that I've ever learned about being a businesswoman, working in the men's world, so to speak, the good old boys club, and breaking through to say, hey, ladies, I'm going to share some secrets that I learned on that side of the fence. I had a lot of things holding me back to do it. I was like, who am I? Why would anybody care? But I kept seeing you pop up, your content, and I would watch you and I would think to myself, does she have a studio? Is this in her house? What equipment is she using? How did she get the courage to do this? So I have been watching as a fan, but also you have inspired everything that you're seeing here happening today.
Oh my gosh. Well, then that's amazing because you are killing it, my friend. So it's really fun to chat with you and learn more about your business. I love that I was even a little part of it in the beginning.
Yes, you were. So no pressure, but tell us a little bit about yourself. So anybody in the community that's listening in the Rachel Unpacked podcast or watching inside of the SHE EO community, tell the ladies a little bit about who is AMY Porterfield today, and then we'll get into who you were yesterday.
Okay. So I always say I'm an ex-corporate girl turned accidental entrepreneur. And for the last 14 years, I've been building my own business where I help people start businesses online. Now, I'm primarily known for helping people take their knowledge, know-how, and skill set and turning that into a profitable digital course that they can sell over and over again and scale their business. And I also help people grow email lists so that they have audiences to sell to. But recently, I have created or written a book called 2 Weeks Notice. Find the courage to quit your job, make more money, work where you want, and change the world. And I wrote that book because I wanted to make sure that I could help women especially know that there's this whole other world out there waiting for them, the world that you and I get to work in every single day, where we bust through glass ceilings. We are as creative as we want to be. We are calling the shots, and I want more women to do that. And so I've expanded the business so I'm helping women even get into this world in the first place.
Oh, amazing. Hey, target audience reached, my friend. So we often talk about, women who are on their entrepreneurial journey. And by the way, we're meeting them where they are. And many of them are at the point of knowing deep down inside that they want to do something more than their corporate situation. Maybe they're even a barista at Starbucks, right? But they know that they have a dream that is bigger than whatever they're doing at the moment, but they don't have the confidence, the courage. They don't have the environment. Oftentimes they look around and their girlfriends aren't doing that, right? Maybe their aunts and their mom didn't do that. And so they are filled with this knowing, and they're on sort of the precipice of like, do I make my dreams come true? Do I not? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey of like breaking through corporate and having the courage to what I call building the airplane on the way down?
Yes, I love that. I love that. Okay. So when I was at my very last corporate job, I always thought I'd have a 9-to-5 job. I was actually really good at having a boss and getting the awards and the accolades and climbing the corporate ladder. I thought that's where I'd always be. So my very last job was with Tony Robbins. He's a motivational speaker, peak performance coach. And I was the director of content. So I got to travel the world, work on the stages the content for the stages he was on. It was amazing. However, he had this meeting where he brought in a bunch of online business owners and he was doing like a focus group. And so I was brought in to take notes. I was at a side table. I wasn't invited to the main table. They were all men around this big oak table, and they were talking about the businesses they had created from scratch. And they were in all different industries, but all I heard was freedom. They were working when they wanted, where they wanted, how they wanted. They were making as much money as they wanted. They were making an impact in this world. And I thought, I want to do that. I have no idea how they're doing it, but I want to call the shots. I want more freedom. I want to work when I want, where I want, how I want. I don't want to be on someone else's time or someone else's dime. And so in that moment, I realized I want something different than I've ever wanted before. And I want to pause there. And anybody that's listening, whether you have a good job that you just don't want to be in anymore, like me, I had a good job, but I wanted freedom, or you have a job that you know you're underpaid and you're undervalued and you're likely ignored most of the time. If that's happening to you, know that it's never too late or never too early to become the person you want to be and do the things you want to do. At any time, you can make a pivot. And so I decided my pivot was going to happen. I was in my 30s. I was ready for it. It took a year from that date to actually transition into my own business. I had some work I needed to do and I was freaked out. But a year later is when I finally went out on my own.
So let me ask you this. When you made that decision to leap, because I know from really young in my career, I come from the magazine industry. So I always say I was Devil Wears Prada, but without the devil part, because I feel like it's a lot nicer than that. But it was high pressure, right? And all of those things. And I can tell you, even like you said, you had a great job. You had a Tony Robbins. Hello. I can only imagine the people in your circle saying, are you crazy?
Yes,
like you're
yes.
going to walk away from this? For me, at 40, I did it. And people are like, what are you doing? You're the publisher of these 5 magazines for this media group. Like, what are you doing? And for me, it was as simple as I just didn't want to get on the freeway and commute. I'm in Southern California. There's a freeway called the 91.
Oh gosh, I know it well.
Okay. And I was like, enough. So for you, tell us about that fear moment, the voices, the things that you were hearing from people and how you broke through that.
So when I decided I wanted, rookie move, my phone going off. When I decided that I wanted to go out on my own, the first thought I had was, I have no skill set to create my own business. What would I do? I have nothing in my wheelhouse that would be a business. Now I know that is very untrue. I believe everybody has it in them to create a business. And really it's, what are you good at? What comes natural? What do people ask you about? Where have you gotten results? Like those are the questions you want to ask. But at the time, I didn't know what to ask myself. And I thought, I have no skill set to go out on my own. And then that imposter syndrome started. Who are you to be doing this? Who do you think you are? Like you are not cut out to be your own boss. I couldn't even use the word entrepreneur because that was way too fancy. That was not me. But I would say, I can't be a business owner. And then the third thing that happened is I thought, if I start putting myself out there, maybe I start posting on Instagram or I start a blog or whatever, what will my coworkers think of me? What will people say about me? What if I crash and burn? What are they going to think about me? I worried so much about what everyone else thought about my future, but it was deep ingrained in me.
And that is something that everybody battles. We usually even end these interviews asking about imposter syndrome. I make sure in every single interview I ever do to talk about the imposter syndrome. I continue to face that within myself. There's body image issues. There's a lot of things. You see a lot of women on social media and they look perfect and I can name them and I'm like, oh my God, they look so amazing. And then I could have hair and makeup done, but I'm plus size and I look and go, oh, is anybody going to care? This is not a good angle. And there just comes so many of our own voices that stop us from moving forward. And then there's the external voices, right? So can we get into a little bit of that, like the body image thing and stuff like that for the women listening?
Please. Okay. So I have struggled with my weight since I've been very young. I've been heavier on camera. If you look at pictures of me, I've been heavier. And I go through seasons. And so I always thought no one's going to buy from me if I look overweight on camera. Like I had this thought in my head. They won't want to work with me. If I'm overweight, they're going to think I'm weak or not smarter. It was wild what my brain went through. The only thing that got me through that was Oprah. Everyone wants to work with Oprah. Oprah's killing it. And she struggled with her weight visually publicly on camera. And so she was like my anchor, like, no, if Oprah can do it, so can I. But I always thought I had a disadvantage because of the fact that I wasn't super skinny. And I really struggled with it. It was a reason why I don't get on camera sometimes. It's why I feel like I'm less than, I'm not as good as other people. And it's such BS. It really, really bothers me that I let that hold me back.
I agree with you. And I don't want to say too much in this area, but if you're a woman and you're listening to this and you feel like you haven't started because you're not quote unquote ready yet, there is a famous saying. I can't ever remember who said it, but they said, if you wait until you're ready, it's too late. Was that Tony Robbins?
And I don't know, but that is a good quote. If you wait until you're ready, it's too late.
It's too
Yes.
late. And so at the end of the day, I know for me personally, I went ahead and I leaned forward on this whole like personal brand thing and stuff because I had always in my entire career put everyone else first, put everyone else forward. And then it was like, Rachel, you should be doing this. Rachel, you should be on stage. Rachel. And then I'm like, what? Why? What? And then it was like Instagram, like, okay, I'll post. And like you said about the family and the friends and coworkers, I started showing up differently.
Yeah.
And then I would get DMs going, why are you posting like you're famous? And then I'm like,
Oh,
okay. I don't, so then here comes the like self-doubt
yep.
and the ick, right? And now I'm just so annoying that I'm like, you could just unsubscribe if you want.
Good for you. Listen, I know you don't need to hear this from me, but I just, as someone who's never met you before, I got on camera and my first thought was, damn, she's gorgeous. And it doesn't matter what I think, if I think you're gorgeous or not. But isn't it so sad that sometimes we just don't see that in ourselves, where other people are having these totally different thoughts than we might think they are? We just have to remember that. But no matter what weight you are, no matter how you sound, the sound of your voice stops some of my students. Like they don't like how they sound or how they look. None of that matters. All that matters is, to me, your content, your message, what you're putting out there, and how you serve. And we need to start focusing on that more.
So can we get into, and maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse here. Can we get into money a little bit? Because listen, I had a thing where, so I was a six-figure earner in my career. And I thought that was wonderful. I was like, this is amazing. I make six figures. People talk about $100,000, $150,000. When I built a different business. It was in home improvement before COVID. COVID took it down. Okay. So I pivoted. But before that, so from 2015 up until 2020, I saw regularly six-figure months. I had never seen that in my life. I remember looking at it and saying, I can't look. Deneen, who's our CEO, she's like, did you see? And I'm like, no, shh, we're not going to talk about it. And so I had this thing where I felt like I didn't have anyone to look around and ask for advice on that. How did you handle, if you're willing to talk about it, going from whatever you were making in the corporate world to like, now this is you and that money's pouring in?
Yeah.
What like did that feel like, and was there fear attached to it?
Absolutely. So I've got this story for you that really paints the picture. So I was about 2 years into my business and I did a launch and I made $30,000 and in like a week. Now it took me a long time to get there, but I launched for a week, made $30,000. I thought I should get naked and roll around in the dollar bills because I'm like, what is this? I never in my life. And I celebrated for 1 second and then I thought it's going to be taken away from me or something bad is going to happen. It's like instantly. And here's the worst part about it. That night, my sweet boy, my son, he was really little and he was playing in the kitchen and he fell and smacked his head on the tile and got a concussion and had to go to the emergency room. It was like a brain bleed. It was a big deal. And I told myself, see, something good happens, something bad's going to happen because you don't deserve it. It literally, I felt I did not deserve it. Why? I don't know. Why wouldn't I deserve that? I worked really hard for it. I was always, and still today, unfortunately, sometimes it happens, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, this is too good. There's that book. Have you read that book, The Big Leap?
No, I've heard of it though, but I have not read it.
Okay, so it literally talks about the hitting that upper limit and not allowing yourself to go there because you feel like you do not deserve it. I have experienced that many times. Now later in my career, I'm able to jump back out of it and really see the work I've done and the fact that we all deserve wonderful things. We all deserve greatness for being human. But for a long time, I could not go there.
When I started seeing the money coming in, I did not give myself permission to spend it.
Oh,
and I reinvested it in my business because I was like, this is what a smart woman does. I was a single mom over the age of 40 after divorce, doing all of this. And I was like, when I tell you I didn't give myself permission to spend, I didn't go buy a house. I was just reinvesting. And then when COVID hit, by the way, just like you said, It hit, and then the well, like the faucet turned off, and I went, see, good thing I didn't spend it.
Looking
See, I
for
knew
proof.
this was going to happen. Now I didn't know a whole global pandemic was going to happen,
You caused it all. This
but
is
I
what you did.
knew it was temporary. And it was like when you're in a bad relationship and you don't want to really let your heart sort of flow in that relationship because you know something, bad's going to happen. It was that way. And so now with this journey, and it's popping, as we say, and things are moving, and we're like, wow, this is amazing. I've told everybody, Deneen, my son, everybody, I give myself permission to enjoy this ride.
That's powerful. And you need it for you and also for those you serve. They need to see that. This reminds me of like this really cool story where there's this woman. Have you ever heard of Brooke Castillo? She's of the life coach school. Okay. So I didn't know Brooke at this time, but she was building her coaching business and she had hit $300,000 in her coaching business, which is a lot of money.
Yes.
She was doing really good. And one day she tells this story so I can tell it, but one day she was listening to my podcast years and years ago before I knew her. And in the podcast, I happened to mention that I hit $1 million in my business. It was the first year I ever hit it. And she was in the kitchen doing dishes. And she's like, wait a second, I can make $1 million? Like I can do that? And so she set out to make $1 million. Last year, she made $50 million in her coaching business with a really healthy profit margin. And I tell this story to say, not to toot my own horn, she did that all on her own. But I told someone what was possible for me, and then they saw it was possible for them. Just like you saying, I'm going to spend this money. I earned it. I deserve it. You just gave permission to another woman listening, like, wait a second, what am I doing? I need to enjoy this money. Why are we working so hard if we don't enjoy it?
That is exactly it. Thank God for my mom who really got me to say, hey, you should travel. Like you should stop. You should take a break. You should. And I did. I got to travel with my sons and I got to do all of this. And there's a whole story, by the way. I had lost my older son after that. And there's so many things that my listeners know about that I always say, please live in the moment, enjoy it, go do the things because you're not guaranteed anything after this. And I'm so grateful for the immense amount of life experiences that I shared with my sons and the albums upon albums of photos because I had someone in my ear saying, go, do it. And had I stayed like restrictive and, sort of in a toxic relationship with my own money, I wouldn't have had those moments. I would have been waiting for like the next big thing, next time, later we'll do this. And so, my listeners know that I'm always like, go, enjoy the moment. Smell the flowers, take the flight, eat the cake, buy the shoes, the whole meme, right?
I love it.
So let's get into a few little tips about your book that you have in your book and really being able to break up with the corporate and do the 2 weeks notice.
Yes. So here's the thing. I wrote this book because 14 years ago, it's the book I wish I had. I went out on my own and had no idea what I was doing. And even making that transition from a 9-to-5 into my own business, it was terrifying. Yeah. So in the book, I put together a runway, how to leave your job so you're prepared to start the business the day you leave, all the things you need to do while you're still in the 9-to-5 job to get prepared for your new future. And then what to do to build your business, like the foundational pieces to build a business online, everything you need to know to do that. So I wrote the book because I wish I had it.
You know what? Every single thing. And I love that because when we set out to build SHEO and to really take the listeners of the Rachel Unpacked podcast onto like a nurturing sequence in a sense, because they were asking for, we didn't actually think that. It was more of like a turn my pain into purpose thing with the podcast that then turned into like, we want more. Do you have this? Or can you tell us how to do that? And I didn't know what to create. And I remember sitting there talking with Deneen, and we said, well, why don't we just make the things we wish we had when we launched the first business? And I was like, oh, so we did like an intentions workbook because we realized it starts with your mindset and it starts with the belief that you can and the understanding of what's possible and wrapping your head around that. So we built these little tools all the way down, by the way, to like a little travel size password keeper that's already laid out, social media accounts, like for business women, because even something as simple as just get organized, just get your stuff organized. So I love that you're saying that because you're speaking my language. I absolutely love you're speaking the language of the listeners and the watchers inside the SHEO platform. So love it.
Love that. I got to mention just doing video and all. I'm kind of mortified as the day gets darker, my light gets horrible. I need to tell everyone I'm in a hotel in LA. We're in Southern California. You both are, and we're
Yes.
losing the light. And
No,
so
we
my
are
light's
losing
getting
it.
worse.
I have so many lights on me that I can barely see you or myself.
Same,
But yet
but it's so bad.
we're like slowly shriveling down here. We will, God willing, be able to edit it and it'll hopefully be
It'll
fine.
look
But you know
great.
what? The audio is what matters. And the
True.
ladies who get to watch it, they get to see that done, because this is what I say, done is better than perfect, ladies.
That
And
is what's happening right now.
perfect example. Yeah.
Amen.
So in your book, I know that I watched your interview with Ed Milet. Love Ed.
Ed, love Ed.
Goodness. Can you tell us a little bit of the journey of now, and this is kind of me selfishly wanting to know this, when you realize okay, so you make the money, you see the money coming into your account, you want to roll in it naked, but you don't, okay. Now you're like, there's a fame element. And I know for me personally, there's a little bit of that pressure to show up and always asking myself, how do I show up? And so what was that like for you?
So once I started to get some notoriety and thinking oh my gosh, I better show up, I was really scared to be myself. So for a lot of years, I showed up a lot more buttoned up than I am now. Now, look, I came from corporate for like many, many years. I will always have my hair done. I will always do my makeup to be on video. That's who I am. I have a mother who won't go to the grocery store without being made up. So I was raised that way. So that's who I am. So it's funny because once I started to put myself out there as a little bit more buttoned up than I am now. And my audience would say, like, we want you to be more casual. Like maybe one time I jumped on video with a messy hair, no makeup. And they're like, we want more of that. And I said, look, I know you want me to be more casual, but in my gut, that's not who I am. And I have to show up as myself. So I still do exactly what I want to show up, because the thing is, I wasn't totally authentic in the beginning. I did try to have this persona, buttoned up professional, and I had lots of blazers, although I love yours. I wear like all blazers all the time. Listen, I have like 100 in my closet. I still do. But like every video I was in a blazer. And then I said, I'm going to be more of myself, but still be very much real, that I'm not going to be the hot mess on camera just because that's what they want to see. That is not me. And so finding who you are, it does take a little time. Did you have that experience? Like, were you 100% yourself right from the get-go?
You know what? In the beginning, again, like you said, the corporate thing, and I was trying to show up super perfect, and the makeup and the lighting. But you know what? I think it's a Southern California girl thing, because you can go to Walmart and it's like fashion show central. We're looking good out here in Southern California.
So true. So true.
But then I would see these podcasters, amazing women, by the way, that are killing it in the game, but like in a hoodie and like no makeup and like, and the things and like, just, and I'm sitting here going, well, I don't know how to do that. So I think you're right. Whatever you're comfortable with doing, however you show up in the world normally, it's like, I always say, the whole life is a stage. Choose your character, study the role, and just know your role and just go. And if that's who you are naturally, it's going to be the best thing. And I will say this, I do speeches on stage, and I'm getting more into it now. And somebody once said to me, how long did it take you to practice that? Did you memorize it? And I said, I can't do any of that. I just have to tell the truth. And the truth is what it is. The most I do is try to remember the order in which things happened. But if I have to sit there and be anything that I'm not, I can't do it.
I think that's it's such a great lesson for all of us to remember. And those that are listening that want to get started, they haven't left their 9-to-5 job, they want a personal brand like we have. All I can say is do it your way right from the get-go. Don't make the mistakes that I made where I tried to be someone I wasn't, and then I had to kind of figure out who I was on camera. Just be you from the get-go, because that's all people really want. That's all they want.
So we talk a lot about surrounding yourself with the right kind of people so that you have the right sort of synergy and energy and stuff like that. On this show, we talk about break up with those people. You know who to break up with in your circles. You know what kind of content to unfollow in order to really get your mindset on track. Who were the key people in your life when you were sort of making this leap from, the status quo to making your dreams come true?
It's like the mentors that I followed online. Yeah.
Or even people, whether it was like an aunt or a neighbor.
Oh, I love that.
Or the content that you consumed online as well.
So for me personally, I have had a husband from day one that supported this journey. And I feel really blessed by that because I work with a lot of women who do not have spouses that support them wanting to be their own bosses. And they think what they're doing is a hobby and they should just stay as a hobby. So I feel very fortunate. I had a husband that thinks I could do amazing things before I thought I could. And so that helped me immensely. Like when I doubted myself, when I had my first launch and I made $267 when I thought I'd make like 100,000, he was the one who picked me up, dried my tears, pushed me back out. I think we all need that person. It could be a spouse, it could be an aunt, it could be a best girlfriend, whatever it might be. Find your person because entrepreneurship can be so lonely and you want to make sure you surround yourself with those great people. Also, early on, I've always been in a mastermind. Now, I paid for it in the beginning and I didn't have the money, so I had to do the payment plan and all that. But there, you could do free masterminds. You could get your girlfriends together who are also starting businesses and just help each other. But being in community, that's why I love that you have your beautiful community. It is crucial. Yeah. It is crucial to find your people and be in community of people that are doing what you're doing. I love that you said, you know, those friends you shouldn't be friends with anymore or not spend a lot of time with. They're going to take you down. So I started spending time with people that were building businesses. And Tony Robbins always says, spend time with people that are doing bigger things than you. So you will aspire to do that as well. That was huge for me. But there weren't a lot of women doing what we're doing now 14 years ago. Very few women. So I learned from a lot of the boys and that was good. I had a lot of success right out of the gate, but I also did like bro marketing, which was like more aggressive, more competitive. That's all I knew from the beginning. And I regret that. I had to really train myself to have a more feminine style because that's what I respond to. And that's what my audience responds to. But I learned from a lot of the boys in the beginning, good and bad.
Exactly. And likewise, you mentioned that you have a son. Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for the mommypreneurs listening, the women who are now embarking on their entrepreneurial journey and they're trying to juggle the whole thing? I have a funny thing that I always say, ladies, don't forget to walk the dog, pet the husband, feed the kids, What is your advice for the mompreneurs listening?
So first of all, just know that it is harder when you're raising kids. Now, Cade is my stepson, but he's been in my life since he was 4. So I was with him when he was very, very little, and I treat him as though he's my own. But when I look at some of the moms in my world, and they've got like 3 or 4 kids, lots of them at home, like toddlers, it is going to be harder for you. Not impossible, but give yourself some grace because your hours are going to be different. The time you spend is different. But also what I always did is I always wanted Cade, my son, to see his mom, both of us, his mom and me are both entrepreneurs. I love that he saw strong women doing really big things. It was important for me to have him see me crush it because that's how I want him to see women. And so when you're doing it, when all the mompreneurs, you are an example to these kids. You are showing them what women can do. And that is such an important lesson. And so don't ever forget that. But the final thing I'll say is that your time is precious and you might only get 20% of your day working on your business and everything else goes to everyone else. Be very mindful of that 20%. In my book, I talk about exactly how to build a business step by step. Follow the right steps. Get intentional about what you work on because you only have a little bit of time to do really big things.
Amen. Where can the women find you, Miss Amy Porterfield?
Thank you so much for asking. So my book is called 2 Weeks Notice, as you mentioned. You could buy it anywhere on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any indie bookstore. Go grab it and then go to 2weeksnoticebook.com. So 2weeksnoticebook.com. I've got bonuses for my book buyers to help you start building your business in an even bigger way beyond the book. And then I'm at Amy Porterfield on Instagram, and I have a podcast called Online Marketing Made Easy.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the show. It is such an honor. Like I mentioned at the top of the episode, let me tell you, dream unlocked. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much, Brandon. So glad to meet you.
Have a wonderful day, everybody. And thank you so much. Tune in next week. Cheers.